After getting, I guess, people let me know that I don't appreciate soccer, football, sports, and other various games after yesterday. So I guess I don't. I guess I don't appreciate it. What can I tell you? For those that appreciate it, I guess you understand the difference between drawing and losing, whatever it may be. But the point is, let's continue what we started yesterday. And that was Shmuel, the Inyan of Sichonen, the halachas of giving presents and shvach to goyim. So yesterday we started with a little bit of an akdama. We just went to a little bit of an idea where it comes from, what the issue is, who it applies to. Today I want to go through many of the examples that we mentioned just very quickly yesterday, halacha lemaisa, and let's see where we're holding. So we mentioned yesterday the first Rashi. Rashi tells us that the issue of Sichonen is mi mishabeach, praising a goy. That is the issue over here, being mishabeach a goy. So the question is, does it mean one goy, or can it also mean a group of goyim? And the oilim are asking the kasha, because yesterday we said, B'Shem Rebelsky and others, that if you have a picture of a footballer or a basketballer, is that what you say? What do you say? You say a basketballer? Basketballer. What do you say? I don't know how you say it. But in England you say footballer. What do you say? Baseballer? How does it work? No, I don't know. Zev, come on, no. A baseball player. That's right, because you have to explain that they play, and it's like the American. All right. Okay. Rabbi Say, let's continue. So, are you allowed to mishabech a whole team? Wow, that team is gavaldik, right? Like somebody said, it's the one time in England there's so much achtas, right? No fighting between this team and that team. Everyone's ba'achtas together. They've grouped together. So are you allowed to mishabeach? Are you allowed to mishabeach a whole team? That's the shaila. Is it one goy or is it many? So where are we going to bring the raya to such a thing? From a Gemara, where the Gemara in Shabbos Lamed Gimel tells us that Rabbi Yehuda came along and he praised the Romans and he said, how gavaldik, look at the bridges, look at the streets, look at the gavaldik azachan that they're doing. So they bring a raya from there. Lo Sichonen. No, there's no Lo Sichonen, because Lo Sichonen is on one person. It's on an individual. It's on one person. Whereas you have a ummah, you have a nation, you have a people, you have a team, or something similar to that. That would be a heta. The Meister of Moshe, Nigras Moshe, when he brings it down, also paskins this way. In fact, Reb Chaim Palaji, Nishmas Kol Chai, also says the raya that you're allowed to praise a group of people. It's an individual that it seems to be the problem. Agav, the Goin was Chaylik, and the Gra held that there's no raya from there. And we'll get to what the Goin held in a minute. So the question is, okay, so what are one of the main heterim of being Mishabeach HaGoy? One of the main heterim of being Mishabeach HaGoy, and this is the emes heter. Yesterday we said a little bit of limud schos, that what they're doing, I'm mishabech them maisa, I'm not mishabech them be'etzem, whatever. But now the shayla is lemaisa. If I want to be mishabech a goy, what would be a real heter to allow me to do such a thing? So the Gra says pshat. Again, this is how he learns the Gemara in Shabbos by Rabbi Yehuda praising the Romans. That if it's l'toyeles atzmoy, then it's muta. Meaning, if you're praising the goy for your own personal constructive purpose, for your own toyeles, then it's mutter. Says the Gra. How do I know that? Because Rabbi Yehuda in the Gemara was praising the Romans. Why? Specifically to decide where to live, to tell the oilam where to go. Mimela, since there was a toyeles to a year, there's no problem in praising. For example, if you're allowed to praise someone as being a good doctor, a good dentist, a good plumber, a good electrician, how are you allowed to do that? Lo Sichonen, don't mind if it's a goy. The answer is very simple. If there's a toyeles, then it's mutter. If you want to tell people where to go to get a good doctor, a good dentist, or a good plumber, whatever it may be, then avada, that's mutter. In fact, there's a very interesting tshuva from Reb Menashe Klein in the Mishnah Halachas, buried in Sfas. Many of us went past the cave up, and he writes over there that he tainas there is no heta to walk into a restaurant that says Chinese. Says if you see a restaurant that says Chinese, you are not allowed to walk into such a restaurant because of Lo Sichonen. Now even this of Lo Sichonen, they're praising the Chinese. Azoi Paskin Arash Menashe Klein. That's what he says. If there's, and we could say over here, which is why most poskim don't hold this way, it's a l'toyeles. I need to know what food it is. And therefore it's a toyeles, and therefore that's why poskim hold that there is no problem, most poskim hold, to do such a thing. Moving on to Rabbi Isai, giving presents. Giving a present to a guy. Many, many examples we said yesterday about stocker, about tips to waiters, and so on and so forth. Is that mutter, is it asa, and when? That's the shaila. So the main issur over here, which we learned from the pasuk, which the Gemara in Avodah Zarah we said yesterday, Daf Chof learns straight from the pasuk, is one of the isurim out of the three is matnas chinam. Don't give a present to a guy. And as I paskin Amaisa Shulchan Aruch and Yodei Sabakufna Aleph, Choshe Mishpat also that you cannot give a present to a guy, right? And that basically is the idea. However, if you're makiroi, if you recognize the guy, if you know the guy, then there's no problem. Right? And as I pass in a Maisa, just in case you want to look this up, it's in Tosfos and Avodah Zarah Daf Chof, which is Be'etzem a Tosefta, which is also Chadush Iran, which is also Tosfos HaRosh, which is also Tosfos Rabbeinu Peretz, which is also Meiri, which is also a Rosh, which is also the Shulchan Aruch. That if you're makir with the guy, if you know who he is, Moish, then there's no problem. Why? Why? If I know who he is, then it makes it okay? Zug the Mefoshem Pshat, that once I know who he is, it's no longer maton, it's like a mechira. Why? Because once I know he is mistom, I want something from him, or he wants something from me, and he'll return the favor. Memela, there's a toyeles to the yid. Whenever there's a toyeles to a yid to give a present, then there is no problem whatsoever, and that's why when you have a company and you've got goyish workers, and you want to give these workers a present before at any time, but especially the time at the end of December, when you want to give them presents, what's with Sichonen? The answer is there's no problem. Or let's say you have a cleaner, and your cleaner, you want to give a present every so often. Why are you doing it? Why are you giving the cleaner a present? You're giving the cleaner a present so that they'll clean better, they'll keep on coming back to you, they won't cancel, whatever it may be. There's always a toyeles. Whenever there's a toyeles, then there's no issa of giving a present in that case. Obviously, Kiddush Hashem or Chilul Hashem comes into a big factor over here. If giving him a present in whatever situation will cause the Kiddush Hashem, or by not giving it to him will cause a Chilul Hashem, that's a Dover Poshet Ad Ma'oit. The same idea as giving a tip. If you want to give a tip to a waiter, which is a normal thing to do in most places, if I can, it's actually required in most places, then of course you're allowed to do it. There's no problem whatsoever. Rabbi Chanan, it doesn't make a difference. Kiddush Hashem and Chilul Hashem. If you don't give it, especially as it's expected thing. Rabbi Chanan Wasserman was medakdik not to give too much of a tip, meaning he would give a tip, but not extra. Because the moment you're going extra, why are you doing more than what you need to do? Don't give more than you're obligated. No, the tip is a normal thing to do. You don't have to go above and beyond that whatsoever. When the grit. What's that? If that's what, if you go to this place all the time and the same waiter and you're doing it for that reason, then of course it's mutter. Of course that's mutter. The Grizz, when he was in Switzerland, was makbid when he went into a taxi to make sure he got the change back from the taxi so that he didn't give the taxi guy too much money. Otherwise, that would be a problem of lo yisachonim. What about saying thank you to a goy? What about Pasha saying thank you to the guy? So B'chonan Kovet Shurim in Gittin has a whole shtickle Torah on this, and he explains that over here by Nachas Ruach, to give Nachas Ruach to a guy, Pasha to be polite, to compliment him, especially if most times it will cause the Kiddush Hashem, then Avada there is no problem. However, very important, the Rambam says Mefurish, to give an eitzah to a guy is Vadayasa. To give an eitzah to a goy. Now, when would this be Nageya? This is very Nageya to give an eitzah to a goy. When is that? You're walking in the street and the car stops next to you. It's a guy inside the car and he says, "Excuse me, sir, how do I get to wherever I need to get to?" Now, he's not talking about a base Avodah Zarah. He's talking about a regular place. How do I get to this store? How do I get to this park? Whatever it may be. Are you allowed? Again, the Fishita Sarambam L'choyre would come out that it's giving Issa Gomo to give an advice to a guy and tell the guy, go to this direction, go make a left, make a right. Obviously, in the case of Chilul Hashem, I'm not dealing with. If Shlomo Zalman wanted a tiny, it's always mutter. It's not called an eitzah to a guy. He can get it from somebody else, especially as most times what we call it Chilul Hashem. If every yid that they go past says, I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. It makes it a little bit of a matziv, and therefore you should not do that. You should give him the directions over there. Moving on, Rabbi Isai. We'll take questions afterwards. Giving blood to goyim. What is the halacha by donating blood? Right? So the poskim discussing Rabelski in Shulchan Alevi Chelik Aleph has a whole tshuva, and he explains that giving blood to a goy or to a blood bank, whatever it is, that's mutter for a few reasons. Reason number one is you never know that a yid may get it. You never know how it's going to go. You don't know vada it's going to a goy. Reason number two, that if they see that we're giving to them, they give to us. And the other thing is Poshut Mishum Ava as well. If they see that Yidden are not giving, that's a double Poshut that's going to cause Ava, and therefore a person has to be careful to make sure that he doesn't get involved in that. To give food that is chometz before Pesach to Yidden, to Goyim, right? You want to get rid of your chometz before Pesach, so you run around to give, to your workers, whatever it be, would fall into the same thing as a matana, and therefore would be okay, because again, you're makira, you know him, and therefore if you know him, makes no problem. Tzedakah. Giving tzedakah to a goy. So the Shulchan Aruch says very clearly, again this is simple psak, that when it comes to tzedakah, you're allowed to give tzedakah to a goy because of darkei shalom. What does that mean? That means that when they come around at the end of the flight and they ask you for some charity, for some, a very, I'm sure, very good organization, but it is for goyim or Save the Dolphins or whatever it may be, which is wonderful. Are you allowed to give to such an organization? The answer is yes. If people will see you, or if they see all the Yidden who are refraining from giving, then of course it will cause a Chal Hashem. But in a case where you see that all the Goyim themselves are not giving, which by the way is most of the cases, and they're not going to say necessarily, oh, the Yidden are not giving, then there's no problem whatsoever. Or maybe more Nageya, if you walk past the street and you've got one of these, pushkas over there. You've got a tzedakah box in the middle of the street, and it says over there, help this and this thing for in Africa, whatever it may be. There's no one around. It's an issa gomel for a person to give money to such a tzedakah, because at the end of the day, that is for goyim. There's enough yidden that need it. There's an issa of lo Sichonen, and a person has to be careful. No, you can't give meiser.
Cases where you're allowed to give.
No, you shouldn't give meiser. No, meiser for tamid chachamim. Huh?
What about the homeless?
The homeless? Same idea. If it calls a Chil Hashem or darkei shalom, it's mutter. If no one's around, no one sees, no one knows, then no, you shouldn't give.
What about a bad cause where people are donating?
What's that?
What about a bad cause where people are donating?
A bad Jewish cause?
No.
What do you mean?
A Jewish cause. You said people.
Oh, where people are donating. Again, if it calls a Chil Hashem, it's irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference. Unless it's causing Averas. You're talking about if it's doing terrible things. To a church? No, that Avada not. No, base Avada so.
I bought some clothing and then the cashier asked if I wanted to donate to LGBTQ, and I said
no, okay, fine. Say it. So the things that are Avera in Yonim Avada not.
What about donating to a social
To who?
a service, like a non-Jewish service
That would help Jews? Again.
in a way, it helps.
Again, if it's Darkei Shalom or Chil Hashem or Kiddush Hashem, for sure it's okay. Otherwise, no. There's enough Yidden that need it directly. Why are you giving it to Goyim? We'll take one more question and we'll move on to one last halacha. Yeah.
How is most things not like a Chil Hashem?
It depends who's around. It depends who sees. That's why. Depends on the matzav. It depends on the environment. Pasha depends on the situation. One last halacha, Rabbi Isai. If you are benching, this is very nageya. If you're benching in the airport, or you're benching on the airplane, or you're benching in any place where there are goyim, this is halacha that I found that most people just didn't even know such a even exists. It's brought in the Rishonim. Okay, some of the Rishonim bring this down. The Orchas Chaim brings this, and Hilchos Brochas. The Kolboy brings this as well. It's brought down also the Shur Knesset Gedolim, the Matei Moshe, whatever. But the Magen Avraham brings it Lemaisa. Okay, the Magen Avraham paskins like this halacha Lemaisa. You look this up in the beginning of the Orach Chaim Sabakuk Peites. The Orach Chaim says like this. The Magen Avraham says like this: that when there's goyim around, a person has to change benching. You have to change the lashon of benching when there are goyim around. What do you have to change? You have to change the following lashon. Ken yivorech oisanu kulanu yachad. Says the Magen Avraham, and again this comes from Gedolei Rishonim, that you have to change it because when you say Ken yivorech oisanu kulanu yachad, you are over on the Isav lo Sichonen. Rishonim paskin this way. Magen Avraham paskins this way, right? And therefore you have to change it to what? B'nei bris kulanu yachad. As well as the psak of Kama Rishonim, as well as the psak of the Magen Avraham, which by the way, is not only a Magen Avraham, it's also a Shulchan Aruch Harav and the Graz, it's also the Das Torah and Marisham, it's also the Kaf HaChaim, it's also the Ben Ish Chai, and the Gedolei Poskim, that hell when you bench and there are goyim around, you have to change the lashon from Ken Yevorech Hasonu Kulonu Yachav to B'nei Bris Kulonu Yachad. The Mishnah Berurah, interestingly enough, when he brings it, slightly changes the lashon of the Magen Avraham, but he goes with the same mahalach as well. Rabbi Isai, you have to remember one thing. when the Heilige Chofetz Chaim, Sichonen Yugen Alayni, when he said Birchos HaShachar in the morning, and he actually thought about what he's saying when he said the brachos of Birchos HaShachar, which Agav is the Gavaldik Zach. Right before he said the bracha of Shaloya Sani Goy, he made sure, he stopped for a moment, he paused, and he thought to himself, is there anything inside me that has any shaykhs to a Goy? No? Now I can continue and say clearly that we are different, we are moved, or we are separate. The Issav Lo Sichonen, according to many, is not to get too shaykhs, too connected, too involved, to realize that we are moved on Mekol Ha'amim, right? That we are the Gavaldige nation of Klal Yisrael, to know that, and the Rebbeinu Shalom is giving Siyat Shema after learning the halachas, to keep all the halachas. Have a wonderful day.